Should be a record thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doghouse Podcast. Again, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Got another great return guest. We got Mad Dog from Twitter, Instagram, and another doggone podcast. How we doing today, buddy?
We're doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for coming on. We got the off season here, so got a lot to talk about.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, first question is, I know Georgia actually released some of the schedule and the game times. I know usually in the past we'd have to wait, about a week or two before they would plan them, but I think we got 5 or 6. Just wanted to get your thoughts on some of the game times that have been released for the 2024 schedule.
Well, the first game is at noon, which I don't understand that one at all because it's Georgia and Clemson. The next game is actually I can't remember exactly who they are, but it's a cupcake team, kind of a light team, and they're at 2:00. So how exactly did we get Clemson at noon and them at 2:00? It should have been vice versa, in my opinion. But the rest of them seem to be pretty prime time. I mean, you got them at like 7:30. They're going to have, and here's the thing that's interesting. They went ahead and released when Georgia Tech was going to play, and it's going to be on a Black Friday night, a primetime Friday night gig. Now, I don't know why ABC did that if they're trying to, because that Thanksgiving week, you're going to have the Egg Bowl on at Thursday. I don't know if they're trying to have games on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to try to, get more viewers in, get more time, see how much how much time they can get. Kirby said he doesn't like that because he said it gives him one less day to prepare for Tech, and he definitely does not like Tech. He does not want to lose to Tech. And Tech is actually, with the new coach, Brent Key, Tech is actually looking pretty good. They're actually doing a lot better. The last couple of games they played with us are a little more competitive than they were, in years past when Kirby figured out that offense and shut down that triple option. But the rest of the games, we got a prime time, I think, Texas and Alabama. All that's at 7:30. So we're looking good as far as that's concerned. But that first game, I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to compete because a lot of Big Ten games are always at noon. So I don't know if they're trying to compete with that. ABC, since CBS is going to be picking up the Big Ten games now, I have no idea if they're trying to compete with that by having an opening between Georgia and Clemson at noon. But it is what it is. We're just going to be happy at that point that college football is back. Regardless, we'd probably get up at 4 a.m. and watch it at that point. It doesn't matter. But right. I don't necessarily like noon kickoffs. I know a lot of people, don't have a problem with it, but I don't necessarily like them. I think they don't have enough time to prep and get warmed up. It's like you wake up, eat breakfast, and then next thing you know, you're on the field playing. It's just not. I don't know. It just seems to be. I don't necessarily like late games, and I don't like noon games. I like them right. I like them 3 or 4 o'clock is when I really like them.
Completely agree. I think they dropped the ball in that Georgia-Clemson game. It's going to be top 20 matchup. Alabama and Western Carolina is going to be at 7:30. You got Miami and Florida at 3:30. I mean, this isn't 2008 anymore. I mean, there's all these. I mean, this is probably the marquee matchup, and it's a noon game. A lot of my tailgate friends were like, man, I'm not even going to go to the game anymore. I mean, that's like a coffee and a beer, Got to tailgate.
Oh, yeah. When you tailgate it for a noon game, you either got to get there at 4 a.m. or you got to spend the night. There's no other way around it. You can't. By the time you get there and set up, the game's already playing. And I can't believe they have Alabama with being a primetime game, and they're not even playing a top 10 team.
Exactly, Alabama effect.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we thought that would go away when Saban left, but it must not have happened yet.
Exactly. One other question on back to the Georgia Tech game. Is this the first time there's ever been a Friday night or a Friday game in Athens? Is this the first time ever? That might be a good question.
That's a great question. I can't remember one. I remember on some occasion when a game got canceled, they actually played a game, but I think it was in South Carolina. They played the game on a Sunday. I remember that was very unique because I was watching the game. And then I was thinking, I get to watch this, and then the Falcons come on after that. So I thought that was a little weird that they had it on a Sunday. They had the game canceled for some reason, and I think it was – I don't know if it was 2016 or 2017 that happened, but I just remember that I got annoyed all the time because every time they play in South Carolina, that damn rooster crows all the time, and it gets on my nerves every time they get a first down or a touchdown or something like that. So I remember the rooster crowing a lot, and I remember it being in South Carolina, but I can't remember why they played on a Sunday. Now, have they ever played on a Friday night? I don't know. This could be a new marketing strategy, like I said, for ABC. They picked up the tab this year and wanted all the SEC teams, so they get to air them whenever they want to. But I think they'll be fine, especially because we're going to play in Athens. But I know there's two teams that Kirby does not want to lose to. He doesn't want to lose to Florida or Tech. And even though it seems kind of petty to hold a grudge, he still holds one a little bit because he never got to really beat Florida the way he wanted to because of Spurrier. And then his last senior year, he didn't get to beat Tech his last game, and that still stays with him for a while. So I know he doesn't want to lose to either one of them. So therein lies the situation of why he's upset, with it being Friday and him not having an extra day to prepare for the game because he really wants to beat them.
That is a good point. Another thing I brought up too is looking ahead. Hopefully they do make it the SEC championship game. Gives you an extra day to prepare for the SEC championship game. So it gives you 8 days. So that could be another positive too. So I know you kind of lose the prep for the Tech game, but for looking ahead at SEC championship game, as we know how it's a long season, everybody's beat up, that could be positive too.
That is true, and I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse, and I'm not trying to say it's not going to happen, but that is assuming that Georgia actually makes the SEC championship. Right. Now, there lies that. Now, I know a lot of people thinking that we're a shoe-in, but there's a lot of teams coming up. Missouri had a good year last year. Ole Miss had a very good year last year. And Ole Miss, on paper, is one of the best Ole Miss teams I've ever seen. Like, they're going to be a problem. Now, whether Lane's got his act together, we do play them at Ole Miss this time instead of playing them in Athens. Right. Whether it's going to be the same thing. I mean, Lane loves the transfer portal. He knows how to utilize it a great deal. But does that mean – my only problem with people who use the transfer portal a lot is, does that mean that somebody you just throw together, even though they're talented, are they going to mesh? Now, the thing that Kirby always likes to promote is the more time you spend with somebody, another year you spend with somebody, you get a bond with them, you get to know them. You trust them a little more. When you throw somebody in from the portal and a whole team in from the portal, you could have a bunch of egos in the locker room that all think that they should have more playing time, and it could come back to bite you. So I don't know. I mean, Lane seems to have figured it out, and he's going to have a very good team on paper. Let's just see how it translates on the field, especially with that game when Georgia comes to town.
Yeah. He's going to have to get that defense a lot better after we put the beating on him last year in Athens. That was a big hype game. So we'll see. It's going to be tough. One other question I did want to say, brought up the SEC championship game. Since the goal now is to make the playoffs because it's 12-team playoffs, would you like this scenario? Let's say Georgia went 10-2, maybe didn't miss the SEC championship game, but they can save their legs a little bit because it is a long season, and then you make it into the playoffs, maybe 6th, 7th seed. And then you'd miss that game instead of, let's say, you go and play that game and get beat up a little bit. Running back goes down, top running back goes down, some big key offensive players or on defense. That gauntlet of a season, do you think it's better to maybe skip that SEC championship game and you'll be fresher going in the playoffs?
Could be, but it depends on how beat up you are. The thing about everybody's like, oh, there's going to be a 12-team playoffs. It should be easier. But now everybody's going to be scrambling for which position they get in those 12-team playoffs. Because they're going to want to be high up. They're going to want that bye week. They're going to want something. They're going to want to be as high up as they can because it doesn't matter how many teams you put in there. The one team you lead out, that 13th team is going to be griping about something. We should have been in. Everybody, we wanted to get in. And then there's some teams that are going to be shocked that they even made it and they're not going to know what to do. This is going to be funny. Now, I predicted this. Now, when you have a 12-team playoff, you're going to have somebody in there who's not used to the spotlight. There's going to be somebody who makes it in there who it's just going to be real shocking, and they're going to get a little overwhelmed, and maybe they don't make it out of the first round, but or maybe they shock people and keep going. But Georgia is going to have to figure out, how they set up. Like last year, we could have totally missed that SEC championship, or it didn't matter if we lost it because we still would have been in. Because, we had Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey hurt. That's not an excuse, the reason why we lost to Alabama. We lost to Alabama. There's no way around that. But injuries are a part of it. And when you've got somebody that banged up and you're playing a big game like that, you don't have to push them to be in that game. You don't want to lose the game, but you don't want to hurt anybody, especially when you know that you've won all the other games and you can still get in. Because we were undefeated up until the SEC championship. It's also going to depend on how the record goes toward the end. if you need the SEC championship to get in, you'll be throwing everything at it. But if you're undefeated like Kirby's been, all the way up to that point, then it's going to come to the point is are these championship games going to be relevant anymore? I mean, I know they're still going to want to play them, but the SEC championship may not be relevant much anymore because there's going to be teams that are going to say, "Who cares if we make it or not? We're still going to get in the playoffs." It's just one more game for them to play that could either make or break your team or wear them out. Somebody could get injured in there, and you need them for the playoffs. So, I know they're a big money maker, and I know the championship games and the conference championship games aren't going to go anywhere. But there's going to come a point where somebody's actually going to say, is this game even relevant anymore? Does it matter? Does it matter if you win or lose? Because if you make it to that point, both of you still should be in the playoffs anyway.
Completely agree. I think it's going to be a lot less relevant. I still think Kirby's going to try to get him up to win it because he's always been proudful. He's like, first goal was win the SEC championship game.
Oh, yeah, it's a big deal for him. That's old school, but it's just there was a time when we didn't think anybody was going to pay players either. So,
exactly.
Think things can change.
Oh, yeah, sure. That'll be something definitely to talk about. And since it's going to be a long season, and I've been trying these out at the pool, VivaTequilaSeltzer.com is the sponsor. To get 20% off, Doghouse 20. Personal favorites, watermelon, huckleberry, elderberry is great. Also, I sent these over to Mad Dog. Did you get to try them out?
I did. They're very good. Now, it's just, if you want a light buzz or a little bit of a slight intoxication, this is a drink for you. I mean, it was worth it. I'm glad you sent them to me. I appreciate it. Shout out to them. They're awesome. Yeah. My wife and all her friends. I handed one out to everybody. I mean, you sent me like a 12-pack, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or you sent me. Yeah. So it was nice. We all enjoyed them. I was like, enjoy these, and if you like them, then we'll purchase them. But I said I got them from Trey Tucker, and I really do appreciate them.
Yeah, I'm glad you got them, Mad Dog, and got to try them out. Again, that's Doghouse 20 for 20% off. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com has been a great sponsor for the podcast this year. Also, want to jump into a little bit more scheduling. So old Steve Spurrier was weighing in. So they got construction. Was it coming up for 2026, 27? Wanted to get your thoughts of where the Georgia-Florida series during that whole when they're building the stadium and everything, where do you, in your opinion, where do you think it needs to go? I wouldn't mind seeing it in Atlanta. I'm not sure about Orlando or Tampa, but what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's I know Kirby wants it home and home, but that's just for a recruiting standpoint. He's always said that. He's always said that he wants, the Georgia-Florida game at home and home. And by the way, for those of you who are wondering, it is the Georgia-Florida game. It is never the Florida-Georgia game.
Amen, brother.
But I don't know. It's been in Jacksonville for so long. I haven't had an opportunity to go to the cocktail party yet. It would, I would love to go to one. I had a friend of mine who went to one and said that there were so many people, whether they were Georgia or Florida, they were so unbelievably nice, handing people beers and letting people, have food and everything. He said it was wonderful atmosphere. And once the game time everybody got a little serious, but it was just so great. The atmosphere was great. And can you have that if you're in Atlanta? Now, if we have it, if it's a home and home and it's in Atlanta, where would it be if it was in? It would be back in Jacksonville, or where would it be in Florida? Do you know where it would be? They say where it would be.
Yeah, it's looking right here. Mike Griffith, would you like to see Georgia play Florida 2026 with Everbank Stadium not an option, home and home, or Atlanta and Orlando? That question, if that helps.
I mean, home and home. Can you imagine Athens with the Gators in there?
Oh,
yeah. or vice versa. You imagine the unbelievable smack talk on Twitter if we were able to beat the Gators in the Swamp.
Exactly.
Because they always talk about that's such a hard place to play.
Yeah.
And you would love to beat them in the Swamp.
Hey, Athens pretty damn hard place to play recently now.
Oh no. I'm not taking away from it, but that's the big point of pride when it comes to Florida. Especially with that Florida-Tennessee game. That game last year, I thought Tennessee should have had that game in the bag. And then they went down to the Swamp, and I was like, I didn't know where those Gators came from. Like, that was insane. I was at a friend of mine's house who was a Tennessee fan, and I was like, I think I need to leave a little early. This is getting kind of ugly. I didn't expect it to turn into what it turned into. I figured it was going to be a big victory for him. But They just said that, for some reason, the Swamp is a difficult place to play. And that's why I would like to beat them in the Swamp. But I mean, it's all going to come down to money. Where the TV, who's going to be willing to pay more to get it there, because fans are going to show up no matter where that game is, regardless of what anybody says. They don't want to call it the cocktail party. I mean, that's irrelevant. That game is going to be huge no matter where it is. So do they want to give that home and home to each stadium, or do they want to keep it in Jacksonville, or do they want to bring it up to Mercedes-Benz? I mean, how many times – Georgia usually opens in a neutral site at Mercedes-Benz. So how many times do you want the Dogs to come to Mercedes-Benz? Then the SEC Championship's in Mercedes-Benz. So I remember, I think it was the last year that they won a national championship, they played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium 3 times that year. They played the opener against Oregon. They played in the SEC Championship when they beat LSU. They played when they Peach Bowl when they beat Ohio State, and then they played. They played again. It's crazy how many times they played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'd like to see them go somewhere else, because there's a lot of fans out there like Alabama and other fans are like, all y'all ever do is play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Y'all never leave the state. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Well, I mean, why don't you guys build a stadium and we'll come there? I don't really care where we play. The way Georgia's playing right now, I'm not really afraid of anything right now.
Exactly. We'll go play on the moon, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll play them at noon. God, I hate that. God, that's terrible.
There is a chance, speaking of that they could play 3 times this year. You got Georgia-Clemson, SEC championship game, national titles in a Mercedes-Benz. You look that far? So it's a chance for 3.
That's true. That's another chance for 3. I mean, like I said, if everything, a lot of college football, a lot of times the best teams don't win. That happens. Because the ball's not round. It rolls funny for everybody. Anything can happen. So there is a small percentage, I hate to use this word, of luck that comes into it.
There is.
Because sometimes, like I said, a fumble, something the wrong way, a close game, anything can happen. You get a crazy pick 6 out of it. There's another thing I don't like. Whenever you get a deflected pass and it turns into a pick 6, that's not the quarterback's fault, but it's marked down as something bad for the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? The quarterback threw an interception. Well, if it was deflected at the line and somebody else picked it up, it was anybody's ball.
Right.
So anything like that could happen. Now, would I like everything to happen? Yeah, I would like to be able to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium 3 times this year. That would be phenomenal. Playing the national championship again there, that would be awesome. It'd turn out a lot better than it did the last time we played there when we played against Alabama in 2017.
Oh yeah, it will be. I will say this, Mad Dog. I'm a little surprised you hadn't made to the cocktail party before. I think I've been 9 or 10 times. I'm surprised.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I think I made it to every other stadium but the cocktail party. I had some friends of mine that would go down there, but usually there's always something going on. For me personally when I go there. But I will definitely. You let me know. You let me know next time you want to go, and maybe we'll meet up there. That would be actually nice.
It is a good time. I'll say around the stadiums, maybe unless it got a little better, I haven't been in a couple of years, but around the stadiums, kind of rough little area. But the only reason why I'd even go to Jacksonville is for that game. Maybe no other other reasons.
Yeah, I don't see any other
Amelia
reason
Island's
to go
a good
there.
place, good chill beach area if you want to stay there and then kind of drive up. But yeah, it's all around that's real nice.
Yeah, I had friends that said they took they stayed at Amelia Island. They would bus to the stadium from there, and they would have to get. But a lot of times he said that he went back when Mark Richt was a coach, and sometimes it was a kind of a quiet bus ride home. He was very upset that they didn't win.
Yeah, I think I'm 7 or 8-1 there. The only time I've been and they lost, so I hate to bring it up. So that 2014 game when they just ran it down our throat. Remember that when Hudson Mason scored?
Yeah. Wow.
And then who was the coach then? It was the one Jeremy Pruitt. They couldn't stop him. I think they ran the ball. They threw the ball 3 times. Just ran it down our throat. We had Nick Chubb 24. That was a bad one.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Like I said, there are things that happen during a game. I mean, I hate to say anything. That's why I don't ever talk a lot of smack during the offseason. Now, do I see that things could happen? Is Georgia on top right now? Absolutely, we are. But anything can happen. Don't start getting too cocky on social media. People start bookmarking that and throw it in your face the second the season starts. Because anything can happen. You can have anybody. You can have 3 or 4 players like blow their legs out, and then the next thing you know, you're done. You're like, uh-oh, and then you're in 3-loss season and you don't know what you're doing.
People keep receipts all the time, so
Oh yeah,
don't talk. Yeah. And then I did want to ask, so the crazy news that's been going on, the Jaden Rashada saga, him suing Billy Napier.
yeah.
First he was at Miami, then he goes to Florida for $13 million, then he leaves there and goes to Arizona State, now he's back to Georgia.
Actually, he didn't get
thoughts
the
on
13 million. That's what the whole problem is. He didn't get the 13 million. You kind of wonder who's at fault there. The booster, or the person who promised him the money, or Napier who promised him the money.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure Billy Napier really wanted him bad because he needed him, but you know, it makes you wonder who's at fault. This whole thing, I don't necessarily like the whole look of suing a team. I understand that there were some problems, but you know, this opens up the door for more kids to start doing this. Like, you know, especially because they got to know that this is never going to see a courtroom. They're not going to want to do that. They're going to want to settle this and make this go away as quick as possible. So what are they going to do? They're going to settle. They're going to give him maybe half. They're going to give him something. And, you know, Kirby really didn't want – I don't think Kirby knew this before he got him there, because he really didn't want to have anything to do with this. And then he went and contacted somebody, and they said, our hands are tied. There's nothing you can do. Yeah. You know, it's a lawsuit between them. You just got to let it go. And if the kid gets money, I guess good for him. But that just means that other kids are going to be like, you know, walking up with their hand out going, hey, you promised me this and that. It's better not to promise them anything. Don't promise them a damn thing.
Yep,
you know, do not do that. Do not even go down that road. So that way you can say, I didn't promise you anything. But I think Napier was unbelievably desperate that way. He really wanted this kid. He knew this kid could probably be a game changer in Gainesville. He really wanted him, you know, there to show up, do everything. So the guy threw out a number, and before he even thought, he probably just, boom, told it to him. And then once it didn't work out, he was like, sorry, we don't have any money. And the kid bolted. Yeah. And then, you know, went to Arizona he went to Arizona State, for God's sakes. That's funny.
All right, so here's the question, Mad Dog. I agree with all that, and I think, I mean, I listened to the interview with him and his dad. His dad seemed level-headed, seemed like they were just trying to look for the best opportunity, but he knows he's going to sit this year. You got Ryan Puglisi coming off injury behind him, got Gunnar Stockton. So my question for you is, over under, is this kid still on the team in 2025, 2026? Because he would be, I guess, technically a sophomore. Does he stay over a year? Does he bounce somewhere else with his history? Your opinion?
Well, you know, he does have a shaky history. It wouldn't surprise me if he left, especially. But Kirby's not going to promise him anything. I guarantee you he's not going to leave, and Kirby's going to have a situation where he's going to be able to sue the University of Georgia. That would shock me, especially if he gets a settlement from there. But, I mean, Gunnar Stockton, you know, it's still kind of a mystery because I've been hearing great things about Ryan Puglisi. A lot of good things. I've seen a lot of practices now that he feels better. I mean, he seems like he's got a cannon. I mean, but of course that's just practicing. You never can tell. I've seen people who look great during practice and then absolutely look terrible during a game. And you see people that struggle during practice and somehow the light bulb just goes off the second that the ball snapped on the field. You can never tell about a quarterback until you see him in game time. You just can't. I mean, everybody can look fantastic in there, but they can absolutely freeze. It's never going to be the same as somebody, because, you know, when you're in practice, your buddy is trying to tackle you. And even though he's coming around there and touching you, you know he's not going to kill you. Yep. You're going to have to look at it. You're going to have to look at a linebacker. You're going to look at somebody across the defensive line. You're going to have to hear all that smack talk. And trust me, there's a lot of that going on. You're going to have to hear all that stuff go on and try to keep focused and know where your receiver is. See if you can throw him open or just, you know, put the ball in the air. What are you going to do? And it's all going to be right there, split second. You never can tell. So I don't know. Gunnar Stockton seems pretty tough, but the offense doesn't necessarily. I mean, I'm sure if he had to come in, they would make up some plays that would, you know, be set up for a quarterback like him, because he's a little more of a dual threat quarterback, and Carson Beck's more of a pocket passer. Carson Beck could scramble for a few yards, but you know, his main thing is staying in the pocket and, you know, good pocket presence, stepping up and making the throw. I don't know about Puglisi. That's going to be, to me, it's going to be a next year. I'm already looking forward to next year because, you know, Beck's going to be gone. Who's going to be the guy? I mean, you've had Stockton, who's been there for a while. Or is Puglisi somehow going to, outdo him? Or is Stockton going to transfer? You have no idea. Now, if that happens, then maybe Rashada stays. I have no idea. But his history suggests that, if he doesn't get what he wants, he will bolt, and he could leave after this season. So I don't know. I can't answer that.
Yeah. I would say with his history, probably won't be here in 2025. Do I think he could be a good or a great quarterback? Yes, but you got to have you got to be patient, especially with Kirby. And I think Kirby probably told him that, hey, you want to come here, got to be patient. It's Carson Beck's team. And then coming out of the spring, I know he talked right after. I know it was a spring game, but I guess with Gunnar Stockton, he's still not blowing my hair back. That's Beck's team. But it's one of those, if Rashada can come in and learn the offense, he might battle a little bit to be the close backup. I think I agree with you. Puglisi is going to be a next year project. Like this year, get over that knee injury, learn how to be in college, learn the ropes. And they also got that Jared Curtis kid right behind him coming in, number 1 overall for 2025. So, I mean,
yes,
Kirby's going to play the best QB, best situation, line them up, and you got to see if it's your time or not. So,
he always plays the best player. It doesn't matter. I mean, I said this a million times. There are no stars when you get to the University of Georgia. Everybody's 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, walk on. It doesn't matter what star you are. It doesn't matter how many stars you have when you were going in there. Kirby is going to put, if a 3-star outdoes a 5-star in practice, the 3-star is going to play. He's going to put the best player. Kirby said time and time again, my goal and my job is to win. And I had to put the best players out there who are going to, be more successful so we can win. That's the whole thing. Now, I mean, case in point, a walk-on won us back-to-back national championships. I mean, nobody saw that coming. I'm still waiting for that movie to be made, by the way. That would be interesting. But I don't know. You're right. They got a lot of people coming in, but Kirby's very with Mike Bobo. That's why I'm interested with Beck, because usually the first year is a little rocky, but the second year under Mike Bobo's system, once you really figure it out, I think Beck is going to be a lot better. Second history, if history repeats itself, because it's always like you see like all the other quarterbacks that had a second year within Mike Bobo's system, they always had a fantastic year. It was just easier once you are able to let go a little bit and give the quarterback a little more room to do his own thing, instead of just saying this is the play, you must run it. If you give him a little more leeway, give him about a couple of plays, let him call it on the line. If he sees something, let him change it. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think Beck. I think the offense is going to be a little bit better, even though we lost Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. That doesn't necessarily mean that the tight end play is going to go away. You can't replace Brock Bowers. He was generational talent. But tight end play, Lawson Lucky, that transfer, I can never remember his name. It starts with a Y, the one from Stanford.
Eurosick.
Yeah, Eurosick. Yeah, that's him.
Good name.
I'm looking forward to him because he has some good stats, and I think he could do good. He's not going to be like Brock Bowers, but he doesn't need to be. All you need to do is just play your own game. Do the best you can do. Nobody expects you to be just like somebody else.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Exactly. Completely agree. Great analysis there. Before we get out of here, Mad Dog, how do we follow you on social media? And then also tell us about you're on a weekly Florida phone call or radio show.
Oh, yes. It's you can follow me at Mad Dog 19 on Twitter. I do have a podcast called Another Doggone Podcast.
Yep. I was going to say as well. Here we go right here. Another Doggone Podcast. Great name.
Yeah. I came up with that because I was always joking with somebody when they told me to make a podcast. I said podcast names are kind of like racehorse names. They're really weird, like they just, everybody has some of them are straightforward and some of them are just kind of strange. So I thought this is just going to be another sports podcast. There's like a million of them out there, so I just decided to call it Another Doggone Podcast.
That's right.
So anyway, the show I'm on every Friday is from Fort Walton Beach, Florida. It's you can stream it on the Ticket Sports Network. It's called the Southern Gentleman Sports Show. There's a 4-hour show every Saturday, and I have a 15-minute segment every Saturday. It's a lot of fun. I'm on a group text with those guys. We have everybody. We have Ohio State, Florida, Tennessee. We have every team. Everybody calls in and talks about different teams. So I think it's me and one other guy that are the Georgia guys. And the host of the show is actually a Georgia guy too. He knows Kirby Smart's family. He was actually Kirby Smart's Little League coach, and he coached Kirby when he was younger. And he's a good guy. They call him the Georgia Dog on the radio, but it's a great show. I've been on it going on 2 years now. I very much enjoy it. Every chance I get, I go down there and they let me in for the whole 4 hours. I do it live the whole time.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. Wish I could make a living doing that. That would be so great. But anyway, so I'm on there every Saturday. It's from it depends on the time zone. It's Central Time, it's 8 to 12. But for you and me in the Eastern Time Zone, it'll be 9 to 1 o'clock.
Okay, that's awesome. Hey, everybody, check him out on that radio show. What was it called again?
It's called the Southern Gentleman Sports Show.
Southern Gentleman Sports Show. I listened to it one time. I'll have to check it out again. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Mad Dog, appreciate you coming on. If everybody's still around, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the Doghouse podcast, and we'll have some other podcasts coming up in the off season here. Really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me on. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs, man.